Hey, badass business owners, welcome to another episode of the Local Small Business Coach Podcast, where each episode we work on getting you to $100,000 in take-home pay. So if you're all ready to boost your profits, increase your sales, improve your processes, and develop stronger teams so you can stop living job to job, then let's dive in. Hey, badass business owners, welcome back to the show. Today I want to talk about strengths and weaknesses. We all have them. We all have things that we're really, really good at, and then we have things that we're not so good at. Sometimes we're not so good at it because we just can't figure it out. Like, I like to think that I can sing, but I really can't. You know what? I'd love to play the piano. Yeah, but I can't. All right. There's things that we all do. Now, that goes also into our business. There's things that come naturally to us, and then there's parts of our business that don't. So, for example, because I love to talk numbers, right? Numbers come very naturally to me. But for a vast majority of you, numbers don't come very easy to you. You know what? You'd rather be doing the doing. Now, I love what it is that I do. So I love the doing part of my business as well. But I haven't always loved the doing of all parts of my business. Sometimes we don't love doing something because it's not that we can't do it. It's just the fact that it just doesn't give us the joy that we wanted it to give us. So the question becomes, when you have strengths and weaknesses, should you work on your weaknesses to make them strengths? We've all heard that. A lot of us grew up under the mentality that you were supposed to work on your weaknesses. And the reality is, yes, you need to work on them, but to realistically think that you're going to get your weaknesses to be as strong as your strengths, that's unrealistic. That's not going to happen. Now, can you be the unicorn and make that happen? Absolutely. But usually when that happens, it's because you discover something that you really do find a joy in. So usually if you see someone who takes a weakness and turns it into a really extreme strength, it's usually because they discover they really do love it and they are passionate about it once they dive into it. But here's the thing. I want to challenge you to look at weaknesses a little bit differently than what you probably have been told in the past. And specifically, let's look at it within your business. Most people are natural doers. When I talk to most business owners, they love what it is they do. If they love getting their hands dirty and making a change, they're going to do it. People love seeing the before and after. They just love doing it. People love creating things. That's the piece of their business that they love. What most business owners don't love, for example, is the behind the scenes kinds of things. So, for example, there's quite a few of you that don't love bookkeeping. You don't love sitting down creating invoices or bids. So therefore, you just kind of put it off as long as you can. You start to procrastinate on it. Or you just get frustrated and throw your hands up because you just don't understand it. You just don't get it. There's others of you that feel that way about social media or advertising your business. So a lot of times you'll throw money at the advertising that's easy that somebody else is going to go take care of for you. So you can lead to you spending tons of money on things that just don't have the return on the investment. Meanwhile, if you just invest a little bit of time and energy and understand how to use social media in your local marketplace, you could actually have a bigger impact on your business, but you don't do it because you don't like social media or you just don't understand it. Now, I can tell you most people, we'll just use Facebook as my examples today. There's a lot of people that blow up their business with Facebook, and you don't have to be an expert at it. You just have to learn a few simple things of how to engage in your local communities. And by the way, any younger generation who grew up on Facebook or grew up with social media can show you the tricks on how to get in there and how to do it. They probably can even help you with it. The key is just not to don't lose your voice, because that's who people want to connect with. Now, a big chunk of what we want to cover today is should you work on your weaknesses to match your strengths? And the answer is really no. Most people, like I said, they're never going to be able to do that. But here's the thing. You do need to be dangerous enough to ask the right questions. And there are some parts of your business that you absolutely must get better at. And specifically, the numbers of your business. Now, I'm not going to harp on numbers today. That's our Thursday kind of thing. But I'm telling you, I keep running into people over and over that kind of throw their hands up and say, look, I just don't get that stuff. I just don't understand it, which is one reason why I try to make it easy as possible. And that's the whole reason for me putting together the course and everything else that I'm doing. I want this weakness in your business and in your tool belt, if you will, so that it can get stronger. But the other thing is there's a lot of other places in your business that you're not so strong at. And it really got into this good conversation with somebody when it comes to stepping out of your comfort zone on things that you don't feel that good on. And you're going to have to force you to do that, because here's the thing. If you want a job, you bought a job. And if you're never going to focus outside of that comfort zone, and all you're going to do is put your energy and heart into the actual doing of the business, then guess what? You just paid for a job, and you're going to continue to make a decent living being your own boss and doing it. Now, being your own boss is a huge thing. That's great. But you don't really own a company, because if you're not making money other than your salary, that's all you did is you bought a job. And for most of you, and the people that I know want to take their business to the next level, they don't see themselves working day in and day out as that grinding away, making a living. They want to build something that can make additional money on top of their salary. And for some of you, you don't pay yourself. And if you do, you pay yourself pennies, and you know it. I want to help you get to the point where your business does a heck of a lot more than that. And you can take time off. You can take vacations. You can have a life outside of working 24/7. But in order to do that, you're going to have to work on some of these weaknesses. Now, like I said, I don't expect you to become a pro on them. You can hire people to do a lot of the areas that you're weak at. The reason so many of you guys have a CPA or bookkeeper is because you know you're not good at the numbers. And I don't want you sitting at a computer keying in those numbers. I don't want you necessarily sitting at QuickBooks keying all that junk in. I don't have a problem with you paying somebody to do your bookkeeping for you. What I have a problem with is that you just take the papers and you never read them, and that you don't dive into the business and find out what's going on, that you don't learn what that bookkeeper is doing for you so that you can make sure that the bookkeeper is being honest with you. And I'm not accusing them of doing anything different, but how do you know if they're making a mistake or they've made a mistake if you've never looked at it? How do you know, what, if I'm looking at one the other day and there's this huge chunk of money on there for depreciation. Now, when I talked to the person and asked them about the depreciation, they absolutely knew what depreciation was, but they didn't realize that when it came off of the P&L, that it was a huge chunk of money that was on there. But at the same time, you kind of have to add it back to get your true net income, and I cover that in the course a little bit, but and we'll talk about it on the podcast one day. But the main thing is they didn't know. Had they had a little bit more knowledge and had a little bit more, that weakness was a little bit stronger, they would have been able to have that part of the conversation, and they could have questioned the CPA why they took such a huge chunk out that particular month. Now, the CPA probably had a really good reason for the way they did it on there, into taxes and to everything else, but the business owner didn't even realize it was on there and how it impacted them. And that's the kind of stuff that you guys want to be dangerous enough to be able to ask the questions while you have people that do certain things for you. And it really comes from you stepping outside of your comfort zone. It's easy. The easy thing to do is to continue to do the doing of your business. The most difficult thing about being a business owner is the fact that you do have to wear many more hats. Another example that happens all the time is people know they need to hire people in order to grow and scale their business, that their business has gotten so big and they know they need to have some employees, but they don't, because they don't like the thought of having employees. They don't like the thought of having to control payroll. They don't like the thought of having to pay extra stuff, whatever the case may be. So what they do is they keep going down the path of working harder and harder and harder instead of stepping back going, okay, this is a weakness of mine of being a leader and having a team. I need to work on this particular skill because I can't grow my business without working on this particular skill. Now, hopefully this is all making sense, because I had an idea in my head and I just kind of really wanted to talk about it, because I think that it's very important that people understand that when you know something's a weakness, you can't have your head in the sand. It just holds you back. When you don't run into your fears, when you don't run into your weaknesses, then you can't really grow and scale your business. You can't unlock the true potential that you have to make profit. And like I said, you don't have to be an expert. You do not have to convert a weakness into a strength. Sometimes you wake up and discover that you've done that, but the key is you can't hide from it. So you do need to understand it. You need to get a little bit better at it. You need to practice it. You need to stretch yourself. You need to find the right tools, resources, humans, whatever the case may be that can help you through that. But at the same time, you have the right questions that you need to ask. You know what? Like I said, you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to be the expert on it, but you do need to know enough to be dangerous. You know what? I want you to focus also on growing your strengths. If you have strengths, I want you to continue to grow those strengths. If you have a certain skill that you know you are like just a maestro at, you are awesome, you are great at it, continue to grow those strengths. I'm just saying, don't run away from your weaknesses. Continue to grow your strengths, but try to improve the weaknesses that you have within your business. Because guess what? The thing you got to keep in mind, when you look at all of the great leaders of the world, and I don't care if they're in business, in sports, whatever speaks to your heart, when you look at the greatest leaders, entrepreneurs, business owners, sports athletes, whoever, they're always seeking for ways to grow and improve. Okay? Shaq was never going to be the best free throw shooter in the world. He just couldn't. And anybody who follows basketball knows he was a terrible shot at that. I think he missed like half of them or something like that. That didn't mean he didn't continue to practice, because I guess he hurt himself some point and he couldn't do his wrist right, and he was so tall, he was like in par with them. It just was not a natural thing. He was never going to be great at it, but he still had to continue to practice to continue to get as good as he was possibly going to be able to get at that. It was a weak part of his game. Other teams knew it and would foul him intentionally, knowing the odds are he wouldn't make both baskets, that he would only make one out of the two. If they were lucky, he would miss both of them. Everybody has weaknesses, no matter how great you are. But the best business leaders and the best everybody, they're always learning. They're always trying to grow. They're always trying to improve their weaknesses. They're always reading books, going to seminars, going to courses, talking to people, having mentors, whatever the case may be. They're constantly always trying to grow, learn. You know, people ask me all the time, why am I always seeking more knowledge, and why am I always trying to understand things better? The reason is because I think when you stop learning and growing, you start dying. And I don't ever want that to happen. I want to be able to help as many people as I can, not to mention myself. I want to be the best person that I can be, not just personally, but also when it comes to in my craft and what I love helping people to do, which means that some things I'm not that naturally good at. Now, for some of you, you probably have the reverse, where, which is a mistake that I make, is I try to become an expert in something I'm not strong at, or I spend a lot of time and energy doing things that I probably should hire someone else to do for me, or leverage somebody else's strengths. So something that might take me 2 hours to dive into and try to figure out because I'm stubborn and I want to try to figure it out. The reality is, if I go to an expert, they can get it done in like 15, 20 minutes. So I have to constantly remind myself that time is money. And while I can do it, it's not the strength of mine. While I can do it, am I the right person to be doing it? Because how much money could I be making if I was focusing on the things that I'm strong at and having other people focus on the things that I'm weak at? So for some of you, you're the opposite, where you continue to try to make a weakness into a strength, or you try to work on stuff that really isn't your forte, and you know that if you hired someone else to do it, that they would do a much better job and they would do it much quicker. And then in which case, that's because we are, it's hard for us to give up pieces of our business. We want to do it all. And part of it is that, because I think I fall into that silo a lot, where I just think I can do everything and I want to do everything, and I don't like giving up pieces of my business or what I need to work on because I wanted to get done a certain way and everything else. But at the same time, as I also understand that that's a weakness, because I should be working on other stuff and I should let go and let other people run with something. So our weaknesses can help us and hurt us in a couple different ways, because sometimes we overcompensate by trying to do everything with it when we really should have somebody else do it. And when I give something away, I find that I actually get a much better project. I was working with somebody, I was doing some advertising, actually some postcards and stuff like that. And I've always designed my own because I have a certain vision that I want, a certain look that I want. I have a certain message I'm trying to do. Well, I try to do it all on my own. Well, when I do that, I get a decent product, but I don't get the best. And I recently had somebody who's much better at it kind of tag team with me. And between the two of us, we were to come out with something that I was extremely proud of and loved the look of how it came out. And it never would have looked that good if it wasn't for both our brains working on it. So I could have the vision that I wanted, but I actually had somebody else that came in and could fine tune it and make it better. So sometimes that's how you can take your weakness as well and turn them into a positive, because it's not my superhuman strength. It's mine is one-on-one coaching and talking to people and everything else. And I'm a visionary. I can see what it is that I want. Sometimes I struggle, not having the full picture, but I know where I'm going. And I find that I actually get there faster and I get there better when I reach out to other people that can help supplement my weaknesses to help make them stronger. Now, I know I've kind of been all over the place on this whole strengths and weaknesses and whatnot, but each of us is a little different. And I just want to let you know that, you're never going to turn your weaknesses into your strengths. Some people will. That does happen. But for most of us, you just need to be able to be enough to be dangerous and know when to call in help and when to seek that help. I understand when you're first starting your business, you had to do all of your bookkeeping, that you didn't make enough money to hire that bookkeeper, but you do get to that tipping point. And when you do, don't be afraid to make that investment. It's going to make your life 10 times easier, but stay engaged and stay on top of them. So this way they produce the best that they can produce, because they know that you're going to be checking in and you're going to be watching it, because you still have to understand that piece of your business, even if you're no longer doing it. It's just the way it goes. And if you want to grow that business into a 6-figure business and you want to have a huge successful, you no longer want to just have a job and you want to have this true business, you're going to have to let go of stuff and you're going to have to work on your weaknesses. And for a lot of people, that's people management, leadership, and some different things. And they're going to have to walk away from some of the things that they're really strong at, which is the doing. But here's the cool thing. Even if you no longer are doing the doing, it makes you a better leader or manager, because now you can relate to those people in a way that most people can't, because it is one of your strengths and you can get in there and you can help people. But at the same time, you have to learn how to get out of it. So I could keep talking on about this, but it was just something that was on my mind. I wanted to throw this out there. And if it's meant to help a couple of people, then great. But the main thing I wanted to do is for you to look a little bit differently at your strengths and weaknesses. And if you happen to have any questions on it or want to throw something by me, don't forget you can always email me at tammy@localsmallbusinesscoach.com. All right, with all of that, I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping this up. I appreciate your listening, and the new followers, I want to welcome you aboard. There's been quite a few people that have started listening to the podcast recently, and I want to thank you and welcome you aboard. And I really appreciate it. And speaking of which, if you happen to know another business owner who wants to grow their business and is really, they're a badass and they really want to understand and learn as they work and as they go and whatnot, to introduce them to the world of podcasting. I mean, I know I'm not the only podcast out there that can help you guys out. So if you can introduce somebody to the world of podcasting, it opens them up to not only myself, but to other people at the same time, and they continue to grow their business and learn. It's an amazing world. I can't tell you, because once again, podcasts are a way for you to help grow your weaknesses. And it's one of the things I like. I love listening to people that, I may not be a pro at it right now, but if I listen to it a few times, I start getting a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better. And it just helps me understand it a little bit more, to be a little bit more dangerous. So podcasting is one of those things that can do that for you when you're listening, because it's like learning as you go and as you work. And even if you're only half listening, you get some stuff through osmosis. You ever wake up and go, how did I know that? Or like you'll say something really smart and you're like, how do I know that? And more than likely, you might have taken it in through osmosis and didn't even realize it. But all right, I'm done rattling. I'm rattling. I know it. So I'm out of here. I will talk to you on the next episode. Bye for now. Hey, before you go, if you're looking to learn more about your business numbers, then check out the Know Your Business Numbers course, where we take a deeper dive into the key numbers, the calculations, the reports that will help you take your business to the next level. My mission is to help everyone love their business numbers. Yes, even including those of you that hate math. So much profit is hidden inside of your business numbers, and I want you to create some awesome, profits. So check out the link in the show notes or head on over to the knowyourbusinessnumberscourse.com. Once again, knowyourbusinessnumberscourse.com. Come join me. Let's go ahead and work on building your profits.